Welcome to this explainer. I was recently digging through some highly specialized research from Virtualization Options LLC, and honestly, it opened my eyes to a fascinating reality about modern network environments. If you're in cybersecurity, you already know the transition to IPv6 has felt like it's been happening literally forever, right? But today, we're skipping the basic introductory stuff. We're getting right to the core of it, how security pros are actually managing these unique IPv6 vulnerabilities and misconfigurations in the real world.
Right off the bat, I want to share a quote that hit me like an absolute bombshell. Your IPv4 defenses do not automatically protect IPv6 traffic. Boom! That completely shatters this dangerously common myth that if you have an actively deployed IPv6, you're somehow safe. The reality is, running two protocols means you are managing two completely separate attack surfaces. If you ignore one, you're basically leaving the front door wide open.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for the professional briefing today. We'll hit 1. The hidden threat, 2. Why IPv6 is different, 3. Exploiting the protocol, 4. The security parity rule, and we'll wrap up with 5. The pro action plan.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the hidden threat, the invisible attack surface.
You know what the great irony here is? The environments with the absolute lowest IPv6 maturity are actually the ones carrying the highest security risks. It's those early phase deployments or networks where admins swear IPv6 is turned off that are the most vulnerable. Why? Because IPv6 is enabled by default on pretty much every modern operating system. Windows, macOS, Linux, iOS, Android, you name it. It is running on your network right now, often completely unmonitored. And remember, two protocols mean two separate attack surfaces. Cloud workloads in AWS and Azure default to IPv6, and it gets sneakier. Container runtimes can secretly acquire SLA ACK addresses and just start communicating without the administrator ever having a clue.
Moving right along to Section 2. Why IPv6 is different. New protocol, new rules. And this brilliantly illustrates a fundamental shift. IPv6 isn't just IPv4 with longer addresses, it structurally changes the game. In IPv4, we've leaned on NAT, Network Address Translation, for decades to hide our internal topology. It gave us a cozy layer of implicit protection. But IPv6, there is absolutely no NAT by design. Direct internet exposure is the default state. Plus, IPv4 relies heavily on broadcast messages, whereas IPv6 replaces that with multicast. It's way more efficient for sure, but it introduces totally new multicast-based attack vectors for reconnaissance and denial of service.
Now, you might be thinking, hey, I'll just block ICMP at the firewall to stop ping sweeps like I used to, right? No way. You literally can't. ICMPv6 is mandatory. If you block it, you break core network functions entirely. Things like neighbor discovery and router communication just stop working. And to make things even trickier, IPv6 uses these flexible extension headers. They're powerful, but attackers can actually craft malicious chains of them to completely evade your inspection engines and bypass your security controls.
All right, on to Section 3, exploiting the protocol, how attacks happen.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual attack on the local link. Take the SLA man-in-the-middle attack. SLA is how devices often get their network info, but the glaring flaw is that it blindly trusts router advertisement, or RA, messages with zero built-in authentication. Here's how it plays out. Step 1. The target host accepts a forged RA from an attacker and updates its gateway. Step 2. That host starts routing all its outbound traffic directly to the attacker. Step 3. The attacker is now comfortably sitting in the middle, inspecting, modifying, or black holing the traffic. Complete compromise, and it requires absolutely no authentication to pull off.
Then we've got the rogue DHCP-v6 server attack. This is basically the exact equivalent of a rogue DHCP attack in IPv4, which we all understand pretty well. But here's the catch. In IPv4, we universally deploy DHCP snooping to stop it. The IPv6 fix, called DHCP-v6 Shield, is rarely deployed. Because clients just accept the very first valid reply they get without authenticating it, a network missing DHCP-v6 Shield leaves every single client silently vulnerable to getting a poisoned network configuration.
9.8. Wow. Whenever you see a CVSS score of 9.8, you know it's serious. It really puts things into perspective. We aren't just talking about protocol logic flaws anymore, the code itself is a target. This critical score belongs to CVE 2024-38612, a severe Linux kernel bug related to IPv6 segmented routing. The sheer complexity of IPv6, with all its extension headers and tunneling, creates this incredibly fertile ground for severe memory safety vulnerabilities like use after free scenarios.
This is where the security pros are spotting the biggest infrastructure blind spots. Admins will spend weeks meticulously locking down IPv4 cloud security groups in AWS or Azure, but completely forget to touch the IPv6 rules, leaving them wide open by default. Kubernetes might accidentally enable IPv6 on a container interface, creating unconstrained link local chatter that makes data exfiltration a total breeze. Oh, and remember that neighbor discovery protocol, the IPv6 equivalent of ARP? It still has no built-in authentication, so one forged message can ruin routing for the entire local link.
Let's pivot to the solution in Section 4, the Security Parity Rule, a new standard. So how do the pros actually lock this down in a dual-stack world? By enforcing the Security Parity Rule. This is the golden mandate. Every single IPv4 security control must have a direct, active IPv6 equivalent. No exceptions whatsoever. The biggest, most common failure we see in enterprises is an organization having these beautifully tuned, mature IPv4 firewalls sitting right next to missing or just lazily copy-pasted IPv6 rules that completely ignore how the protocol actually functions.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the concept of first-hop security, or FHS. These are your switch-level protections, your ultimate shield against those rogue RA and DHCP attacks we just talked about. You absolutely have to deploy features like RA Guard and DHCP v6 Shield to block unauthorized messages. And here is the urgent takeaway. You need this on every single managed switch. Just one unprotected non-router port completely undermines the security for the entire local link. Because we don't have the implicit protection of NAT anymore, and because IPv6 addresses can be spoofed just like IPv4, your security posture has to become incredibly explicit. It's all about microsegmentation with zero implicit trust, even on the same exact subnet. You have to enforce identity-based access controls, verifying who is actually connecting, not just trusting an IP address. And wherever you possibly can, utilize mutual authentication with IPsec.
Finally, let's wrap this up with Section 5, the Pro Action Plan, Next Steps. So the crucial point is, here is your concrete, actionable 5-step playbook. Step 1, discover. Just assume IPv6 is running and audit all your assets, especially containers. Step 2, harden. Apply that first-hop security across all your switches. Step 3, filter. Build out those access control lists to achieve true parity with your IPv4 rules. Step 4, monitor. Make sure your SIM is actually ingesting and understanding IPv6 telemetry. And Step 5, which is honestly the most important, train. You must specifically educate your staff on IPv6. It's easily the most effective, yet vastly underinvested mitigation out there.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If your security team just spent the last year meticulously auditing your entire network, but they only looked at IPv4, is your firewall only fighting half the battle? Take a really hard look at your dual-stack networks today, because trust me, the attackers already are. Thanks so much for tuning in to this explainer, and keep learning.